Revealed, incredible journey of a single mom who disappeared 7 years, only her call could save him. Jessica was a vibrant fireball of laughter, a single mother whose spirit danced above the struggling Midwest town like a warm spring breeze. But one sunny afternoon 7 years ago, everything changed forever when she vanished, leaving her son Ethan in the grasp of his stern grandmother, who wore her judgment like armor. Now, as graduation loomed and dreams were about to unfurl, another kind of storm brewed in Ethan's heart, a bittersweet ache for a mother he barely remembered. Each Friday night during football games, he roared alongside classmates, cheers masking the void lurking inside. Memories of family barbecues painted a scene of warmth and camaraderie, yet the smiling faces faded in the harsh light of reality. Little did he know, somewhere out there, Jessica was fighting her own battle, swallowed by the weight of her past choices. Then came an unexpected phone call, shattering the fragile stillness of Ethan's life. The screen illuminated with her name, a name that had been a whisper in his heart for so long. It was her Jessica. The voice that emerged from the line, shaky and uncertain, felt like a ghost, yet it echoed with a familiar warmth and love he had nearly forgotten. A glimmer of hope intertwined with anger coiled tightly in his chest, and his heart raced. How could he ever forgive her for leaving? Memories crashed over him like waves. Days spent baking in the kitchen, her laughter mixing with flour in the air, her soft touch as they read stories under dim light. He remembered her beautiful eyes twinkling with pride, and the warmth of hugs that felt like home. But the shadow of abandonment chased those memories, suffocating him with feelings of resentment. The weight of her absence made every triumph ache with a deeper longing. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun dipped below the horizon on the eve of graduation, he paced nervously, teetering on the not-so-fine line of emotion. The day he had worked tirelessly for, the day they had both dreamed of, was suddenly wrapped in the chaos of her return. This was a moment he could never have envisioned. Would he find it in himself to forgive? Or would he turn his back on the woman whose absence carved the contours of his heart? His fingers trembled as he clutched the phone, time whirling around him. In this moment of choice, both terrifying and liberating, he contemplated his life, the isolation, the emptiness, the yearning for his mother's reaffirmation. His heart raced, the clocks ticking resonating deep within his chest. Could he forge a new beginning? Was there truth in second chances? As he stood on the precipice of a decision that could stitch the tear in his soul or stretch it wider, a single thought rippled through his mind, heavy yet hopeful. What if love was waiting just beyond the chasm? Would he leap into the unknown, arms wide open, chasing the connection he had longed for? As doubt loomed like a shadow, the phone slipped from his grip, fate hanging by a thread, leaving his life poised for transformation or breakdown, caught between the past and an uncertain future. The phone hit the ground with a soft thud, a reflection of the tumult in Ethan's heart. He watched it, half expecting it to come alive again, to summon the woman who had danced like sunlight in his memories. But silence stretched out like a raw wound, filling the room with the weight of unresolved emotions. Ethan snapped into action, picking up the phone with shaky hands. Should he call her back? Would anything he had to say even matter? A tidal wave of uncertainty surged through him. He was on the brink of graduation, a bright future just over the horizon. Yet, here was a ghost from his past threatening to rewrite the script. That he stood by the window, staring out at the amber glow of streetlights piercing the evening dusk. The chatter of friends preparing for the graduating ceremony echoed faintly in the background, but it felt worlds away. They were celebrating milestones, while he was grappling with ghosts, his peers filling the void that Jessica had left with laughter and excitement, each one a reminder of what he'd missed. Ethan's thoughts raced. He could hear his grandmother's stern advice, her reminders of how a mother who walked away didn't deserve a second chance. But who was she to dictate his feelings? She didn't know the ache that punched him in the gut each time he gazed into the mirror, searching for traces of Jessica and his own features, that he pressed his palm against the cool window, willing clarity to seep into his tangled thoughts. What if she had changed? What if she had spent every day wishing she could turn back time? Or maybe she hadn't thought of him at all. That notion stung like a wasp, and he flinched, pulling his hand away. With every heartbeat echoing like a clock, he put the phone back to his ear. Should he text? Should he allow himself to be vulnerable? Fight or flight instinct pumped through his veins, whispering for him to run from the uncertainty. But another voice roared louder. Maybe the love he craved could bloom again, if he dared to open that door. As he scrolled through his messages, his thumb hovered over Jessica's name. Past and future collided in a haze of emotions. Would he choose connection or closure? Picking up his laptop, he opened a blank document, an attempt to gather his thoughts, to articulate the whirlwind of feelings he could barely comprehend. Words flowed out, a waterfall of pent-up emotion. I don't know how to forgive you, but I long for the piece of you that could shake my doubts. He paused, choking on the weight of his own words. Was he reaching out for her, or just trying to soothe the ache of abandonment? Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, echoing through the silence like a siren. Ethan jumped, his heart racing. What if it was bad news? What if the world outside had no mercy? Reluctantly, he stepped away from the page and opened the door, revealing his best friend Nick, a concerned look plastered across his face. Ethan. Dude, it's almost time. Are you coming? We can't start the party without you. Nick insisted, his voice vibrant with energy. The world beyond seemed to come alive, while Ethan felt trapped in his own quiet storm. With a hesitant smile, Ethan nodded, but his heart wasn't in it. He had one foot in the future, where hope danced like confetti, and another in the past, wrestling with shadows. Would he find the courage to take the leap, or be paralyzed by fear of falling? As he turned away from the door, Nick's words echoed in his mind. Don't let this slip away. Could he really embrace the possibility of a future with the woman he had yearned for, or would he let this slip through his fingers like grains of sand? The choice loomed large, and suddenly the culmination of years spent pushing down feelings felt all too real. Just as he steeled himself to find Jessica again, the harsh reality struck him. What if the reunion wasn't what he envisioned? What if love fell flat? With a sigh, he glanced back at his laptop. The cursor blinked back at him, daring him to continue. Whatever unfolded next could either heal or shatter him, and the weight of that reality felt impossibly heavy. Would he choose to reach out, or lock away his heart once more? Answering that call was just the beginning. In that moment, Ethan knew this wasn't just about reconnecting with Jessica, it was about reconciling with his own heart. Would he be brave enough? That question lingered, ready to unravel the next chapter of his life. Ethan took a deep breath as he closed the door, shutting out the lively chatter that surrounded Nick. The world beyond felt impossibly bright, fun, and full of promise. But here, cocooned in his doubts, everything felt muted, every color more somber. Ethan, you okay? Nick asked, his brows knitted with concern. Yeah, just thinking, Ethan replied, forcing a smile that felt too tight. He could hear the music thumping from the party downstairs, laughter mixing in with the notes. It should have been exciting. He should have felt a rush, an eagerness to dive into the night. Instead, a darkness lingered like a shadow at the back of his mind, reminding him of the call that had shaken him. I get that a lot lately, Nick said, shoving his hands in his pockets. Ethan regarded his friend, longing for the casual ease they used to share. It's just Jess called, he blurted out, his own voice startling him. Nick's eyes widened. Wow, really? What did she say? Not much, really. Just she wants to talk. Ethan found himself shifting on his feet, the weight of his own words wrapping tightly around him. Dude, that's huge. You should talk to her, Nick encouraged, leaning forward as though ready to sprint into action. It's been how many years? This is your chance. Is it? Ethan's voice wavered. what if she just wants to clear her conscience? What if she's moved on and I'm just a reminder of her past? Or maybe she hasn't. Maybe she wants to set things right. You won't know if you keep pushing it away, Nick replied, his intensity piercing through Ethan's fog of indecision. Ethan felt the truth in Nick's words, like a candle flickering in darkness. For so long, he had put up walls, barricaded his heart, unwilling to face the uncertain aftermath of her absence. But now, the prospect of reconnecting with Jessica sounded almost like a siren song, sweet and dangerous all at once. Maybe Ethan let the thought linger, wrestling with the idea of reaching out. But the voice of his grandmother echoed in his mind, warnings of betrayal and anger. Could he really bring her back into his life after all this time? Would it only bring pain? Hey, Nick's hand landed on Ethan's shoulder, grounding him. You've got nothing to lose. Even if it doesn't go the way you want, at least you'll know. It's better than wondering forever. Ethan's throat felt tight. What if it hurts even more? Then you heal, like you always do. You're stronger than you think, man. Nick's confidence poured into Ethan like a lifeline, reconnecting the lost parts of his heart. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second echoing the urgency of the moment. Okay, Ethan finally said, steeling himself. I'll text her. Just to see. His heart raced at the thought. Would he be brave enough to say all those things he had bottled up for years? Do it. Then you can celebrate not just graduation, but taking charge of your life too. Nick grinned, visibly cheering his friend's decision. With renewed determination, Ethan returned to his laptop. His fingers hovered over the keys, pulse beating rapidly. He had to say something real. He couldn't let fear drown him again. Before he could change his mind, he began typing, spilling forth everything he felt. Jessica, I don't know how to feel right now, but I want to talk. Just tell me when. He hit send, his heart thudding as if it might leap from his chest. Instantly, he felt both liberated and terrified, just as if he'd jumped from a high dive into unknown waters. Nick clapped him on the back. See, that wasn't so hard. Moments strewn with doubt and hope collided in Ethan's mind. The phone in his hand felt foreign and familiar all at once. Would she respond? What would happen next? A ping jolted him from his thoughts, and all the air seemed to leave his lungs. A message notification lit up the screen. What does it say? Nick leaned in, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Ethan's heart raced as he opened the message, unfolding layers of potential joy or heartache. Whatever lay ahead, he sensed this was a pivotal moment in his life. Would it pave the way to closure or spark new beginnings? The answer sat just in front of him, waiting to change everything. As he glanced at Nick, a shared uncertainty flickering between them, the true weight of the moment loomed large. Would he be ready for what the future held? Ethan's fingers trembled as he unlocked his phone, the screen glowing brightly in the dim room. Nick's excitement was palpable, a current of energy swirling between them. Ethan could feel the heartbeat of the moment, each tick echoing the weight of everything that had led him here and everything that could follow. He took a deep breath and read the message. Ethan, I've thought about you a lot. Can we talk? I miss you. How about tomorrow? The word struck him like a sudden thunderstorm, intense, overwhelming, unexpected. Ethan's breath caught. Missed him? All those years of silence, and now, here they were, words flashing before him that felt like a lifeline and a weight at the same time. Wow was all he could muster. He stared at the screen, searching for any hint of what this meant. Did she truly mean it? Was it hope or a polite distance? Nick leaned closer, his eyebrows raised. What does it say? What are you thinking? Ethan turned the phone toward Nick, sharing the revelation. The excitement in Nick's eyes flickered, then twisted into something resembling concern. You ready for this? I mean, you can't take back saying yes if it gets too overwhelming. An unexpected surge of anger rose within Ethan. It's not like I just said yes, Nick. I haven't responded yet. But even as the words left his mouth, he knew they were laced with sarcasm. "Hey, I just want you to be prepared," Nick said, holding his hands up in mock defense. "This could end in happiness, or it could be a total emotional train wreck." "What do I say?" Ethan pressed, feeling utterly lost. "Just be honest. That's all she's asking for, right?" Nick grinned, his optimism a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside Ethan. "Tell her how you felt all this time. No reason to hide." Ethan swallowed hard. "It's not that simple. There's so much history." "Yeah, and that history matters. Don't let fear hold you back." She's reaching out. "That has to mean something." The room fell silent for a moment as Ethan collected his thoughts. Memories flooded and laughter shared, moments lost, friendship turned bitter and then benign. Jessica hadn't just vanished from his life, she had taken a part of him with her. He leaned forward, heart racing, fingers trembling again as he typed. "I miss you too, Jess. I'd like to talk." "What time?" Before the impulse could fade, he hit send, and the silence that followed felt like a premonition. There was no turning back now. He felt as if he had just stepped onto a high wire with no safety net below. Nick clapped Ethan on the back, shaking him from his reverie. "See? You're doing it." The familiar buzz of his phone drew Ethan's attention again, jarring him out of an overthinking spiral. Another message illuminated the screen, just as anxious fingers tightened around his. "Let us meet at the cafe at 2 p.m. I'll be waiting." Ethan stared at the words like they were written in a foreign language. The cafe, their cafe, where countless memories had been made. It felt rich with possibility and heavy with the burden of the past. "Tomorrow at 2," he muttered, feeling a mix of dread and thrill. "Good luck." "Just breathe, man," Nick said, giving him a reassuring smile before stepping away. "I'll be here if you need to talk after." Ethan nodded, but as his friend left the room, the reality of the situation crashed over him like a cold wave. Did he even know what he wanted to say? Or how to face a ghost of his past? The clock ticked away the moments, each sound adding to his growing anxiety. What if she had moved on entirely? What if she stepped back into his life like she never left? A knotted feeling twisted in his stomach, illustrating the fear of the unknown mingling with the flickering light of hope. With the message still on his screen, Ethan's heart skipped, torn between fear and longing. What if meeting her was the closure he needed? Or a plunge into pain he wasn't ready for? He stood at the precipice of old wounds and new beginnings, the line between exhilarating and terrifying dangerously thin, and as he contemplated the conversation to come, his mind flooded with questions. Would this be the moment he'd find solace, or would it be the jump that sent him spiraling into uncertainty? Ethan's heart raced, sensing the impending collision of old feelings and raw emotion. The cafe awaited him, and with it, the echo of everything they once shared. Was he truly ready for what lay on the other side? Ethan woke up to the muted light filtering through the curtains. The familiar ambience of his room felt different today, a swirling mix of anticipation and anxiety coated each corner. It was already too late to back out. Today, he would reconnect with Jessica. Today would either heal wounds or open them wide. His phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with a new message. It was from Nick, a simple, "You ready?" Just that little note fueled an urgency in Ethan. He had been pacing back and forth in his thoughts all night, lost between dreams of what if and nightmares of what was. He shot a quick reply, "As ready as I'll ever be," but the truth remained, lurking beneath the surface. He felt anything but ready. His mind flickered back to that afternoon in the cafe years ago. The laughter, the way she always reached across the table to steal a fry, how they could talk for hours without losing track of time. All that was buried beneath a thick canopy of hurt and resentment that had built over the years of silence. Could they ever return to those days? Would they even want to? Ethan pulled on a jacket over his t-shirt, the chill of the morning outside beckoning an almost rueful sense of dread. He stepped outside and breezed through the streets towards the cafe, where the air felt charged, crackling with possibility. By the time he reached the familiar entrance, memories dashed through him as he pushed open the door, the jingle of the bell ringing like a distant alarm. Inside, the cafe buzzed with chatter and the smell of fresh coffee mingling with sweet pastries. Ethan's heart raced as he scanned the room. There she was, sitting at their old table, the one with the chipped corner they used to pretend was a battle scar from all their adventures. She looked like a piece of the past come back to life, somehow familiar and entirely different, like a ghost who chose to materialize again. "Ethan," Jessica said, her voice piercing through the noise. She stood up, her smile softening the lines of worry beneath her eyes. The way his name floated off her lips opened something inside him, an ache long since buried stirred awake. "Hey, Jess," he managed, fidgeting with the strap of his bag. He couldn't tell if it was the warmth of her presence or the ice-cold fear pooling in his stomach. They sat across from each other, the minutes stretching out like hours in the silence. The world around them faded slightly. Coffee cups arrived and steam curled up, mingling with unspoken words between them. "So how have you been?" Jess broke the stillness, her voice barely above a whisper. For a second, Ethan felt like he was navigating through fog. How could he summarize 7 years into a few words? The losses, the changes, the small victories that felt monumental. "It's been complicated," he started, but as he looked into her eyes, they both seemed to recognize the weight of that word. They shared a tentative laugh, something lightly buoyant in the heaviness of their past. "Complicated feels like an understatement," she nodded, her gaze unwavering. "I've missed you, you know." "I missed you too," he confessed, the truth spilling out before he could wrestle it back down. It felt both liberating and terrifying, an emotional bungee jump without the comfort of a safety harness, but then her expression shifted. Hesitation flickered like a candle before the wind. "I'm sorry for everything, Ethan. For how it ended. I never meant for us to drift apart." His heart ached hearing the sincerity in her voice. "It was complicated for both of us," he repeated, grounding himself. "I just never thought." The word stalled, the knot tightening again, but what was he truly feeling? Uncertainty battled with fragments of longing. The memories surged, the good times pressed against the painful. Suddenly, Jessica's eyes brightened. "But what if we don't let it end this time?" she asked. The question hung in the air, a dare and an invitation wrapped in one. Ethan's breath caught as he felt a tremor of hope bolt through him. What if they could reconcile? What if they could resurrect more than just memories? He stared back at her, his mind racing through possibilities, weighing what it meant to take that plunge, to redefine everything they had lost. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff with his heart pounding wildly against his ribcage. Could this be the beginning of something new? Or was he destined to repeat history's mistakes? Silence engulfed them, the unsaid words swirling like steam from the coffee cups, both daunting and beautiful. Ethan knew this was only the beginning of their conversation, a moment unlikely to resolve everything, but a moment ripe with potential, and as all eyes fell on them, he wondered, were they on the cusp of healing or just inviting more heartache? Ethan took a deep breath, the weight of Jessica's question clawing at his insides. Just as the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted between them, so did unspoken expectations. His heart thumped loudly in his chest, only amplifying the tension. What did it mean to choose to reconnect? Did they have a future, or were they simply clinging to the past? He could see it in her eyes. There was hope, mingled with regret. "Jess, I don't know what we're supposed to do with this," he admitted, his voice barely above a murmur. "Maybe we start by being honest," she replied, her tone steady. "About everything?" He nodded, a small gesture that felt monumental. The honesty that lingered in the air felt like a challenge and a lifeline all at once. "Okay," he sighed, preparing himself to unravel years of hurt. "I've thought about reaching out so many times, but fear always kept me silent. I didn't want to hurt more than we already had. I didn't want to open wounds that might never heal." Jessica leaned forward, her gaze intense. "I get that. I've been scared too. Scared of what we defined if we tried to dig everything up again. But I also think we owe it to ourselves to try. His heart raced at her words. What if trying meant more pain? Yet, was there any peace in the silence they had maintained all these years? They could either revisit their past or continue to drift in the currents of their separate lives. What if it all falls apart again? Ethan's voice broke slightly, his insecurities bubbling to the surface. What if this is just a mistake? She reached out, her fingers grazing his hand. We'll never know unless we try. With each other. Together. The warmth of her touch sent a shiver down his spine, and he found himself captivated by the sincerity in her eyes. You're right, he finally admitted. We have to at least be brave enough to explore it. Before he could overthink it, Ethan took a leap. What if we make a pact? No more secrets. Just honesty. If one of us feels like we're losing ground, we promise to say so. No more silence. Jessica smiled, a small spark igniting in her eyes. I like that idea. No more ghosts in the shadows. The moment felt electric, but behind the thrill lurked undeniable fear. Ethan felt an unfamiliar warmth ripple through him as a new sense of purpose settled in. But the weight of their past loomed like a cloud. What if their openness encouraged vulnerability but didn't lead to the reconciliation he desperately wished for? He took a hesitant sip of his coffee, a small escape from the uncertainty swirling inside him. We could start with something simple, he suggested, feeling a rush of relief in her gaze. Maybe take those weekend trips again, like we used to. Even if they begin without any expectations. Like coffee without complications. She grinned, her playful spirit inching back to the surface. Exactly. He laughed, tension easing for the moment. Just two friends trying to find their way back to something genuine without overthinking it. The idea of friendship felt reassuring, yet a nagging voice reminded him that longing lurked beneath the surface. Did they really want to tread back into those uncharted waters? But then, just as Ethan was about to voice more of his thoughts, the cafe door swung open violently. A sudden gust of wind swept through, scattering napkins and knocking over a chair. Both turned to see a woman rush in, her face flushed. She was panting, almost frantic. Ethan. Jessica. She called out, her gaze darting between them. Familiarity flickered in Ethan's mind. Who was she? Why was she looking for them? His heart dropped, each beat heavy with uncertainty. Jessica's eyes widened, distress etching her brow. What's wrong? He held his breath, the unexpected interruption pulling them out of their delicate moment. As fear settled in the pit of his stomach, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came next might change everything they were just beginning to rebuild or destroy it completely. What revelation was about to explode into their carefully constructed truce? The woman stepped into the cafe's bright light, trembling slightly as she caught her breath. Ethan narrowed his eyes, trying to place her. She looked familiar, but he couldn't quite recall her name. All he knew was that something in her frantic energy sent a shiver down his spine. Ethan. It's urgent. She repeated, her voice edged with panic. Jessica's hand instinctively tightened over Ethan's, both of them rooted in place by the sudden chaos. What is going on? Ethan managed to ask, his voice barely above a whisper. Jessica's concern mirrored his own, and the moment felt stretched thin, like a rubber band ready to snap. The woman took a deep breath, finally steadying herself. It's about Lily. She's been in a terrible accident. The words hung in the air, heavy and ominous. Ethan's stomach dropped. There it was, a name that shot through him like a bullet. Lily. His sister. No. What do you mean? Is she okay? The question trembled in his throat, hope wrestling with dread. Memories of their childhood flickered in his mind, laughter around the dinner table, her first day of school, the way she used to look up to him. She's in the hospital, the woman said, her eyes shining with urgency. They're doing what they can, but it's serious. You need to come with me. Jessica's grip on Ethan's hand tightened further, grounding him as the weight of reality crushed him. This was overwhelming. What about their moment? Their pact? They had just started to confront their past, and now another part of his world was fracturing. "Who are you?" Ethan finally asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sorry, I'm Claire. I used to work with Lily before she left. She's had a rough time lately, and she needs you." Ethan's heart raced. Lily had gone off the grid. He hadn't seen her in years after she decided to disappear from their lives, chasing a freedom he couldn't understand. Guilt washed over him as the memory of their last fight sprang forth, the harsh words exchanged under a stormy sky. "She's been looking for me, hasn't she?" He murmured, the realization sinking in. Claire nodded, her eyes softening as she sensed his internal turmoil. "I think she finally realized she needs you too. Please, Ethan, we don't have time." He looked at Jessica, whose expression was a mix of concern and encouragement. "You have to go," she urged him gently. "We can set this aside for now. You need to help your sister. She still loves you." A rush of gratitude surged within him for Jessica, the weight of their moment evaporating like steam in the air. She understood. He could see it in her eyes. "All right," Ethan said, his voice firmer now, certainty rising in him. "Let us go." As he stood to follow Claire, Jessica's hand slipped from his grasp. The absence felt like a loss, even in the midst of chaos. He turned to her once more, the warmth of their earlier connection still lingering despite the news that had shattered their fragile truce. "Call me," Jessica urged, her voice low and serious. "No matter what happens, don't let it take you away from us." Ethan nodded, but uncertainty crept in again. The weight of his sister loomed larger than anything he had ever faced. It felt like fate was throwing him into the last thing he was prepared for. As he walked out of the cafe, the door swinging shut behind him, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change once more, with each step toward the chaotic hospital, doubt tangled with hope. Could he reconcile with Lily after everything? And what did it mean for him and Jessica? His thoughts swirled as he approached the parking lot. Would running toward one relationship push him further away from another? What awaited him at the hospital would test every promise he'd made during their quiet moment, and he braced himself for whatever was ahead. Ethan climbed into Claire's car, his heart a chaotic drum in his chest. The engine roared to life, but his mind was still at the cafe. Jessica's concerned eyes haunted him. He could almost hear her words echoing in his mind, "Don't let it take you away from us." It felt cruel to leave her behind, even for his sister. The cityscape blurred past as Claire drove. The weight of Lily's accident pressed down on him, transforming the vibrant world around him into a muted haze. Thoughts flicked like a broken record. What happened? Why hadn't she reached out to him until now? Every bump in the pavement sent jolts of anxiety through him. "Ethan, you all right?" Claire broke through his spiraling thoughts, glancing at him quickly before returning her focus to the road. "Yeah, just thinking." He fought to keep the tremor out of his voice, but it leaked through like a bad secret. "Do you know how it happened?" Claire took a breath, her hands tightening around the wheel. "She was in a car accident. Drunk driver, they say. It's a miracle she's alive." Each word felt like a knife twisting in his gut. A miracle. The emphasis lingered bitterly in the air. He had hoped for the smallest inkling of optimism after hearing about the accident, but now it felt like a frail thread holding him to hope. As they drew closer to the hospital, Ethan's senses heightened. The building loomed ahead, lights piercing the dimming sky. Anxiety filled his lungs as if the heavy air was soaking into his bones. "What's the plan?" he asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. "First, we need to get to her room. Then you just be there for her," Claire said gently, parking the car with a slight jolt. "She needs you, Ethan." The mix of anxiety and responsibility swirled in his chest as they stepped into the fluorescent-lit chaos of the emergency hospital corridor. The sounds of beeping machines, distant voices, and hurried footsteps filled his ears, drowning out all rational thought. Claire led the way, weaving through the maze of patients and families. With each step, the aching memories of childhood played like a montage, the laughter, the squabbles, and the promises to always have each other's backs. They had drifted apart, but nothing could sever the bond of blood. They arrived at a room marked with sterile white curtains. Ethan hesitated at the threshold, the air thick with apprehension. Claire sensed his hesitation. Ethan, with a deep breath, he pushed the curtain aside and stepped inside. The sight before him pierced his heart. Lily lay unconscious on the bed, her once vibrant face pale against the harsh white sheets. Tubes and wires snaked around her. Another wave of guilt washed over him. He had not been there for her when she needed him most. Lily, his voice was a whisper, trembling under the weight of emotion. He took a step closer, the sounds of the world fading away, leaving only the echo of his love for her. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Lily's eyelids fluttered. It was the kind of small action that ignited a spark of hope in him. "Come on, sis, you can pull through," he murmured, terrified yet determined. Her eyes opened, just a sliver, and then focused on him. "Ethan," she croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tears pricked his eyes, the sound of her voice a balm on a wound he didn't realize had been festering. "Yeah, it's me. I'm here." But just as relief began to wash over him, he sensed an urgency within her gaze. It was more than recognition, it was fear. An unsettling question hung in the air, and he needed answers. As Ethan leaned closer, Lily struggled to speak, her breath shallow and uneven. "You have to listen, before it's too late." What was she trying to say? What secret lay buried under all the pain and confusion? The words stuck in his throat. Fear surged through him as he braced himself for what could come next. Could this moment finally lead to the understanding they had both been avoiding? Ethan was about to find out just how deep their past ran, and the truth could change everything. Ethan's pulse raced as he leaned closer, straining to hear Lily's fragile voice. It was like standing on the edge of a precipice, the vast unknown stretching out before him. He noticed the way her brow furrowed, the intensity in her gaze sharpening even through the haze of pain and medication. "Lily, just take a breath. You're okay now. I'm right here," he said, hoping to anchor her. But the urgency in her tone only deepened. "It's not what you think, Ethan." Her words were a labored whisper, each one seeming to cost her a great deal of energy. I need to tell you about the night of the accident, please." "We'll talk about it," Ethan said, nodding more to himself than to her. He needed to stay strong, to shield her from any more worry. "But first, I just want you to rest. You need to heal." A flicker of anger pierced through her fear. "No. You don't understand. You're in danger," she gasped, eyes wide. "I was trying to get to you. I shouldn't have had that drink. I saw them after what?" "Who?" Panic crept into Ethan's voice. He gripped the edge of her bed, feeling the cold steel beneath his fingertips. "Who's after me?" "Lily, who? Just tell me." She struggled to maintain focus, the shadows of pain clawing at her face. "It's complicated. I am scared. They know about you, Ethan. They don't want us to talk," she breathed, as though the words alone might summon their pursuers. Chills crept up Ethan's spine. He had left the past behind. He thought he'd closed that chapter when he'd gotten his life together. But hearing her words made the air around him thick with memories he wanted to forget. "Lily," he started, but the fear stilled his words. "What do you mean they know?" But she was fading, her words slipping like sand between fingers. One of them will come for you. You need to be ready." An old friend. The idea sparked a recognition he couldn't quite place, like a distant bell tolling from somewhere deep in his memory. He felt the shadows of his past whispering to him, beckoning him to remember. "Lily. Please," he urged as her eyes began to flutter again. "Stay with me. The room was already filled with the blue light of the monitors. Her breathing quickened, and suddenly a nurse rushed in, her face serious and professional. "We need more help in here," she called behind her, bringing in a small team. "Get away!" Ethan shouted instinctively, stepping forward, but the nurse held up a hand. "Sir, she needs treatment." He felt the ground shift beneath him, as if the very walls were closing in. "No. She was telling me something important." He was desperate now. He couldn't handle the thought of losing her again, of being plunged back into that pit of helplessness. As the staff began communicating in rushed whispers, the nurse turned to him, eyes softening. "We'll take care of her. You need to step out for a moment. Let us help." Reluctantly, Ethan stepped back, his heart racing, uncertainty flooding his mind. He glanced at Lily one last time, her eyes heavy with fear, overshadowed by the sterile hospital lights. "Ethan," she whispered one last time, her voice dissolving into silence as they worked to stabilize her. He stepped into the hall, feeling hollow. The chaos of the hospital echoed off the sterile walls, a cacophony of distant voices and urgency. His thoughts were a storm, a mix of panic, dread, and the haunting mystery left unresolved. He leaned against the wall, his breath shaky. What was she trying to tell him? And who was coming for him? As he slid down to the floor, the questions loomed larger, and the uncertainty gnawed at him. His phone buzzed in his pocket, startling him. It was a text from Jessica. "Are you okay?" "I'm worried." He stared at the screen, his heart torn. Should he reach out? Or should he bury himself deeper into the secrets of his past? The shadows of his life were closing in, and he was about to learn just how dangerous ignorance could be, but perhaps the real question was not who was coming for him, but what he was willing to uncover to protect those he loved. With determination blooming in his chest, Ethan swiped his phone open and began typing. What he thought were the real questions were only the beginning of the confrontation ahead. Could he unearth the truth before it was too late? Ethan took a deep breath as he stared at the screen, fingers twitching above the keyboard. He needed to respond to Jessica, needed to reassure her while he grappled with the chaos unfolding around him. But how could he communicate his fear when all he wanted was comfort in knowing she was there, even if just virtually? He quickly typed, "I'll explain later. Lily's in trouble. I'll keep you posted. I promise." As he hit send, anxiety burned in his gut. Would she understand? Would she be able to wait while he faced this storm? Before he could overthink it, his phone buzzed again. This time it was Jessica, an immediate response, "Just be safe. I'm here if you need me. Always." A wave of warmth spread through him, a flicker of solace in the midst of turmoil. But the fear for Lily loomed heavier than ever. He pushed himself to stand, heart racing, bracing himself against the wall as he took a moment to gather his thoughts. What had Lily meant by they? Who were these threats haunting their past? And what danger did this shadowy figure pose to his life now? The memories of a time before felt surreal, like a distant dream he thought he'd buried for good. He stepped away from the wall, each footfall echoing in the sterile atmosphere of the hospital as he made his way back to Lily's room. He needed answers and he couldn't allow fear to control him. When he returned, he found the room quiet now, the bustle of the nurses stabilized as they worked. His heart ached as he glimpsed Lily laying still, her breaths more steady but still shallow. "Lily?" he called softly, approaching her side. Her eyes slowly blinked open, haunted with a mix of pain and fear. "Ethan, I thought I lost you," she murmured, her voice a soft rasp. "Never, sis. I'm right here. Can you tell me what is happening?" A flicker of recognition sparked in her gaze. "You have to trust me. There are people looking for us. They don't want us to talk. I heard them." "Who, Lily? Who are they?" Suddenly, she winced, pain crossing her features as she struggled to breathe, the gravity of her next words weighing heavily. "One of them is someone close. Someone you wouldn't expect." Ethan's blood ran cold. The shadows of his past began vivid again, faces flashing through his mind, friends, acquaintances, and that one lingering threat he thought he could dismiss. Should I be scared? He whispered, aware of the gravity of her confession. No, just be careful, she breathed, the urgency unmistakable. I made mistakes. I tried to walk away from it all, but it found me. And now it's found you. All the weight of hesitation lifted, and in its place rose a fierce sense of protection. He would not let anyone harm his family again, not after living so long feeling powerless. We'll figure this out, I promise. With everything that's inside me, I'm not going to let them take you or me for that matter. He turned to stalk out of the room, fueled by resolve. But before he could reach the door, the nurse returned with a frown etched across her face. I need you both to keep calm, she urged, recognizing the tension etched through Ethan's stance. If what she is saying is true, it's important we maintain a low profile. I think you both may need security. A hard silence fell in the room as Ethan stared at Lily, the fear in her eyes mirrored his own. They know where to find us, he concluded, realization striking like a thunderclap. Without any more words, the nurse took charge, ushering them down the hall, explaining that necessary precautions would be taken. As he walked alongside Lily with uncertainty weighed heavy in the pit of his stomach, he tapped a quick message to Jessica, I need you to trust me. Things are more complicated than I realized. Just stay put. Lily's eyes fell to the floor and worry flooded her face. Ethan, promise me you won't run. Not to hide from whatever's coming. Never, he replied, determination swelling in his chest. I'll stand my ground. Waves of adrenaline surged within him as they were moved to a secure room while Claire arranged security. He felt a renewed sense of purpose filling the gaps of worry he had carried alone for too long, fueled by the drive to protect not just his future but the fragile bond he had with his past. In that moment, while uncertainty howled like a storm outside, the resolve flickered like a flame inside him. We'll get through this together, he vowed aloud, and he felt the weight of those words resonate against the anxiety in Lily's eyes. Hours passed, tense and filled with hushed conversations, as Claire checked in with updates. Ethan felt the need to stay close to Lily, his heart resting only briefly whenever he felt her warmth beside him. The promise of facing whatever came next became clearer as he realized that sometimes facing the past meant building the strength to move forward anew. As the sun dipped low, streaks of gold illuminating the interactions around them, voices trailed off. Ethan felt the proverbial doors of their lives swinging open as both he and Lily prepared to confront the specter that had loomed over their family. The world awaited, filled with both threat and promise, and within it, a journey of healing. Together, Ethan breathed and Lily nodded, her eyes reflecting newfound determination. They would reconcile, and this time they wouldn't let anyone tear their family apart. And as night cloaked the world outside, it was a reminder that every transformation begins with a single step into the unknown. Now, we reach the end of their incredible journey, but it opens a door to countless more stories. If you've enjoyed this emotional roller coaster, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your engagement helps the stories bloom. Thank you for being part of this amazing journey.